In the mid-1980s, the Society carried out excavations over several seasons on the southern side of Pule Hill, above Marsden. At that time, perhaps this was the most extensive and comprehensive investigation to date in the history of the Society. Luckily, Brian Howcroft filmed all this activity, and his film is available now on this same YouTube channel and is recommended viewing in conjunction with this slideshow. On Pule Hill, the primary purpose was to discover and confirm the existence of the Roman road from Castleshaw Fort to Slack Fort as it crossed Pule Hill before dropping down into Marsden. And indeed the road was found, tucked away underneath the later Packhorse Trail, which was exploiting the solid surface kindly provided by the Roman road builders so many centuries before. At a spot known as Worlow, on Pule Hill, close to the course of the Roman road, pottery finds, nails, some beads, whetstones, and what appeared to be a bronze buckle, all of Roman origin, suggested that close to the Roman road there must have been a small building. This site was explored in some detail over 3 seasons in the mid-1980s, and indeed the foundation stones of a small building were found and excavated. Unfortunately, 19th century quarrying has damaged part of this building, but it was tentatively interpreted as perhaps a watchtower or a signal station alongside the Roman road. Such an interpretation was not unreasonable, as several examples of similar watchtowers or signal stations from Devon to Scotland have been attested. Here, for example, at Thornham in Norfolk, or the better known one in the grounds of Scarborough Castle, one of several watchtowers on the east coast, on the lookout for hostile invaders from the North Sea. Our signal tower may have looked something like this, a wooden structure surrounded by a defensive ditch. But if it was a signal tower, it could not have stood alone, since it cannot be seen either from Castleshaw Fort or Slack Fort. At least 2 other towers, one on Millstone Edge at Stanage, looking down on Castleshaw, and another, perhaps, on the top of Holdstone Moor, visible at Slack, would have been needed to provide an unbroken link between the 2 forts. These 2 other signal towers have not yet been discovered, but then neither has anyone looked seriously for them. Perhaps it was indeed just a watchtower, manned by soldiers perhaps from Slack or Castleshaw, to offer extra protection to travellers on a section of the Roman road so remote and exposed. This publication by the Society, The Romans Came This Way, provides a much more detailed account of the excavations which were carried out on Pule Hill and at Worlow. On the Roman frontier in Germany, the so-called German limes, extensive use was made of watch and signal towers. After the defeat of Varus and the slaughter of 3 Roman legions in AD 9 at the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, the Romans abandoned any attempt to extend the Roman frontier eastwards to the river Elbe, so that Roman Germany occupied about 1/3 of the land of the present-day Germany. This resulted in a land frontier with the barbarian world some 568 kilometres in length, the German equivalent perhaps of Hadrian's Wall. To protect this frontier, there were some 60 forts, and in between these forts some 900 signal and watchtowers. Romans' early warning system, we might say. The investment in manpower along this frontier must have been considerable, even perhaps with only 2 soldiers in each tower. At several sites, the towers and the defensive ditch and ramparts have been restored, and, using Google Earth, long stretches of the limes are still recognisable in the landscape today. In the south, in some places, a stone wall took the place of the wooden rampart. Just inland from the German limes, in Bavaria, there is a Roman fort called Ventoniana. In German today, it is known as the Roman fort of Pfunz. It has recently been restored and is now a heritage site. The purpose of this fort was to protect an important bridge over the river Altmühl. This Roman bridge still survives and is still in use, but now only for pedestrians. I draw attention to this particular fort because there is an interesting link between it and our very own Roman slack. Both were built at about the same time, and both were manned by a regiment of auxiliary soldiers, recruited in the same homeland. In the German Pfunz fort, this was the home of the first cohort of the Bräuchi, whilst at Slack we find the 4th cohort. Inscriptions survive to prove this, 2 rather fine ones from Germany, and at Slack the regimental stamp on many roof tiles. Which of these 2 regiments drew the short straw in terms of placement, Southern Bavaria or Yorkshire Pennines, I'll leave you to decide.